Dragi prijatelji, kolegi, člani Slovenske matice, sodelavci Slovenske matice, kar se nas je zbralo. Danes bi vas pozdravil ob posebni priložnosti, ob priložnosti predavanja našega japonskega gosta Satoshija Murayame. Prireditev poteka v precej, bom rekel, specifičnem okviru, ob sodelovanju Slovenske matice in Inštituta za novejšo zgodovino. Tistih na večino nas je tukaj vemo zakaj, zaradi selitve inštituta nismo vedeli na inštitutu kako in kaj načrtovati. Smo prosili sodelovanje s Slovensko matico, konec koncev nas je tudi več skupnih članov in sodelavcev, že sam povezujem tudi obe dve inštituciji. Isto velja tudi za kolego Žarka Lazareviča, predsednika nadzornega odbora Slovenske matice, ki bo kasneje še podrobneje predstavil našega gosta. Torej, predavanje bo potekalo v angleškem jeziku in kot je v teh okoliščinah v navadi, je pripravljen tudi kratek povzetek v slovenskem jeziku, tako o avtorju, kot o njegovem temeljnem delu, tako da si vsak lahko tam iz police vzame tudi osnovne in si tam najde osnovne informacije o tem, kar nam bo avtor povedal. I want to welcome Professor Murayama here. I hope you will have a nice stay in Ljubljana and at our society, and that will bring back from good feelings and good impressions from our society and our city. Thank you very much. Žarko, zdaj pa bi te kar naprosil, da prevzameš besedo in predstaviš avtorja.
Hvala, Aleš. Jaz moram povedati, da sem zelo vesel, da je kolega Satoshi danes tukaj z nami. Gre za mojega dolgoletnega sodelavca, prijatelja, ne vem, kolikimi leti so se pravzaprav nekje spoznala, potem na različnih konferencah sedela in dokler ni bilo nekaj kljub preveč tudi do... Ali je vklop, ne posposti. Je, no. Ja, in nekaj kljub preveč je tudi razlog, da smo se potem lotili skupnega projekta. O samem predavatelju jaz tukaj ne bi veliko govoril, ker namreč to smo dali že v teh listih. Jaz bi povedal, da je profesor Murayama zelo ugleden japonski zgodovinar, recimo temu zgodovine podeželja, zgodovine kmetijstva, okoljske zgodovine ali pa recimo gospodarjanja in upravljanja prostora, njegove ekonomizacije in podobnih vsebin. Njegovo sodelovanje v okviru japonskih univerz je zelo obsežno, ne samo, da na svoji lastni univerzi vodi različne raziskovalne programe, temveč je nekaj, kar mi ne poznamo, oni pa poznajo tako imenovane gostujoče raziskovalce, ker je tudi na drugih japonskih univerzah vodja različnih raziskovalnih programov, med drugim tudi v Kyotu na neki zanimivi inštituciji, ki priča o nekem novem pristopu k študiju same zgodovine podeželja in okolja, ki te povezuje in že samo ime inštitucije zelo pomenljivo, Inštitut za človeštvo in naravo. In se interdisciplinarno potem stvari združujejo. Profesor Murayama je tukaj po priliki obiska zaradi skupnega projekta, ki ga imamo in ker moramo sedaj reči nekaj zadev glede bodočih publikacij in pa naših raziskovalnih aktivnosti. Pred enim letom smo imeli srečo, da smo pravzaprav kot edini družboslovno-humanistični projekt bili izbrani na razpisu japonske raziskovalne agencije in slovenske raziskovalne agencije. Konkurenca je bila velika, prijav je bilo čez 50 in smo že zaradi tega seveda tudi zelo veseli nad takim dosežkom. Naš projekt se imenuje Sustainable Living Spaces oziroma trajnostni življenjski prostori, kjer skušamo narediti eno primerjavo med koncepti kmetovanja, koncepti izrabe v kmečkem okolju, delitve dela v kmečkem okolju in pa predvsem kako se je ohranjala produktivna sposobnost okolja na dolgi rok na slovenskem in japonskem podeželju. Primerjava je seveda zelo intrigantna, ker gre za dve različni okolji, dve različni socialni organizaciji vasi, tudi socialni oziroma, kot se temu danes moderno reče, omrežni organizaciji vasi. Točka, ki pa združuje pravzaprav obe deželi, je pa izjemna razdrobljenost kmečke posesti, ki pravzaprav na dolgi rok v nekih trenutkih, ne glede na tisoče kilometrov razlike v historični stvarnosti, generira tudi zelo podobne odgovore. Jaz ne bi tukaj nadaljeval več, da ne bom seveda profesorju vzel preveč besedi in bi na tej točki zaključil. So, I made a small introduction to your lecture, and floor is yours.
So thank you very much for you can hear me. I think I'm originally a German historian, German Armenian historian, but I come back to Japan and to research Japanese history also. And this time I would like to some a part of Japanese history. Probably, I hope you can understand my lecture, but it's not so official, formal lecture. I think I will present to you some parts of Japanese specialties, especially in early modern times. But we have long time tradition to the present days is our females and males situation is always changing. And nowadays it's so big change, but I would like to show you at first we are coming back to early modern times in 70s, 80s, 90s century. It's a little bit different to European early modern times. We, in general, normally until the beginning of 19th century, but our Japanese history, early modern times, is to be until the end of 19th century. So I show you some slides. I hope. So I can begin my lecture. So first, I'm going to show some slides here in Kyoto prefecture. Probably you know Kyoto, and then it's western part of Japan here, and Tokyo is here, and Kyoto prefecture is here. And then also I'm talking about this area is Kasagumi. So you cannot read, I think. It's okay. I have presented my paper first in last year in Brazil in July. It's a Third World Congress for Environmental History. And then Russia my paper, and also some additionally I'm working with historical sources. And probably Jarko has already explained some abstract or not, but it's okay. I'll skip that. So my outline is at first it's first Japan in perspective of environmental history. I'm generally general historian, but engaged in family history and economic history, and nowadays in the last 10 years mostly engaged in environmental history. So in this sense, I'd like to show you the small sketch for Japanese history from the viewpoint of environmental history. And the second one is I use some special sources which can show us some new evidences from Japanese history. And the third one is more environmental history problems. We have because of climate change, so many natural disasters we have. It's probably in the world the worst evidences was last year and the last 5 years. So many tragedies we have. So drought and flood risk in Kasagumi in special area, and come to the different. It's in Japan. It's each village has his or her, I don't know, its own landscape. It's really differentiated in each village. And seasonality in agriculture, case of Kutami, and the last point, gender perspective, regional network, and cooperating demands. So, excuse me. It's probably, have you ever been in Japan or not? No. It's, you can see in really typical Japanese rural landscape in mountain areas. It's different to the coastal areas and so, but it's typical because of narrow and so on, mountainous and so small river. And then this plant, you know, one, rice. Yes, it's I think it's. I have taken photos in August. It's in next September or October. We have harvest. So it's Japan. You know, this is an Asian monsoon region. We have many typhoons, and June has so many rains, and it's not. Nowadays also, in the past time, but the climate changed. And then, always the strong rains we have almost all season, not to change. But it's, Japan is belonging to an Asian monsoon region, it is still. And we have many cultural influences from China and also Korea. It's the last time before the early modern times, is so on for the mentality of Japanese and the Japanese males and females, and also our ideas coming from China. But after the Meiji Restoration 1868, Euro-American influence is so strong. It's introduced in legal systems, European legal systems, and also some parts of military system and so on. So dramatically changed in 1868, but I will insist some days is not always politically changed, it has changed the mentality and family system and so on. It's a long traditional way. The political historians said it's a big change, evolutionary change or some evolutionary change, but it's still long existence of some kind of lifestyle and some kind of sort of our living. And then, but Japanese early modern times, I have said it's 16th to the end of 19th century. I say it's a long 19th century formation. It's different in every country. In Slovenia, not 19th, and in Germany or the other areas is 19th century. It's 19th century, but it's a different period they have. The last one, original environmental changes occurred in this long Japanese 19th century, is a preparing phase. It's a long time. After the war within Japan, it's a long time, one century wars, and then at the end of the wars, it's coming to the early modern times. And then establishing phase, and surviving phase of original rice field environment. By us, it's not bread, it's rice, is the most important point. And then from early modern times to the present. That means it's early modern times still exist, but we have lost, and in recently, we have lost many landscapes in Japan in such a long traditional landscapes. So probably too small. Last plan you see, it's in Japan, we calculate the village GDP. He's an economic historian, I'm also economic historian, but it's a small village has its own GDP. But this GDP is counted in the amount of rice. If one person can live in one kopu, it's so 60 kilogram rice, and then so that means the village 100 persons, 100 kopu is okay, we can survive. So that means it's only 1.00 is the crucial point. But you know, it's a result of early modern times. In some areas, for example, my special field in Amatsu in Kyushu, only 0.3. It's not easy to survive. You must have some commercial, get money to some engaging in other industries or some others. But you know that it's this area, 3.13 is 3 times more. That means it's here, but here is flooding plain. That means in the coming the water flowing, and then it's a dike, it's overflowed, but next year so much past. So in Japan, it's always so flooding risk is always there. But I would like to say here in this occasion, I say it's more risky is drought without rain. Flooding is okay. I know this year is not harvest, but next year is coming new soils and new harvest. So I've seen some areas, it's not so big dike, it's a loss. You see the rice field is always with water. And then it means if you come from the plain or something, it's also a lake or something like, or small ponds. But it's but I'd like to say this table is in Japan in early modern times so much industrious people to work hard, especially women and also men. It's probably work hard, but it's a result of each region's effort. It's so different. In the northern part of Japan is much colder, and southern part much warmer, and also mountainous areas, coastal areas, so differentiated. What is that? And then so differentiated, so an economic capacity or capability is so our basis to live in city or to choose where is the best harvest to have. So I'm coming, I hope it's 45 minutes. So I'm coming to the historical sources here. You can read it, or not. It's a Japanese calendar is different calendars. This solar calendar, lunar calendar, and we say is a special period. So this is bunka, is at the beginning of the 19th century. And then so comes every day. For example, January the 1st is it's January 1st is today is almost February. It's different. And then this here you see holiday. Wake up at 5 a.m. to celebrate with zoni is mochi rice cake in the street and contribute to village officers for greeting Happy New Year. And such every day has noticed such a way to what is they are working and so on. And example 2 here, January 17th, being human waste to the field as a fertilizer, broad between growing wheat, nakauchi, straw work in rainy days, women work to earn from cotton, and so on. And we have now it's more than 3, I think more than 10 such annual working series, diaries. And from these diaries, we can some calculations to have. So, and then also other historical sources here. The first survey for agriculture, fishery, annual work, instruction diary in each place I have said this one from Bunka 10 and 1813. And then a contemporary production survey of Kasagun is 1806, Bunka 3. It's a different part, but we can connect with this village diaries with this regional survey. So regional survey, county and village topography is here. it's very interesting for me is here including information item about future of soils and disaster possibilities. They are not so calculated. It's one, I think it's now is the earthquake, for example, 6 or 7 is magnitude and so on. But it's not so. And then also flooding. Flooding is often or sometimes or nothing or drought risks and so on. This is only narrative descriptions. But we can calculate some point. It's 3 points, for example, every year there are flooding or not. So it's the first result of my research. And Gerald has to meet with my son, the second son, and he has helped me to draw maps. I'm too old, I cannot see that one. But it's you know, here this is drought risk, red one is not so clear, but and blue one is flooding risk. And then no risk is small one. You can find this here. Here. It's 149 villages. And then you see some parts is flooding, also drought. That means it's here is drought, relatively drought areas and so on. And Kutani and Amarubekami and then Naru, I have analyzed the annual working and then compare to other areas to show you. So, I think it's difficult to see. It's not so easy to see, but you can see this one line. Yeah, it's a village is not showing village boundaries. It's some villages, so this area is to live there, but the more mountainous area. For some part is more coastal region. It's totally different. And also here is Maizuru is a castle town. In Japan, it's not so many cities. And here 149 villages, but no towns. It's only one castle town. And the castle town warriors, soldiers, but they are never soldiers in the 18th century. They are so bureaucrat of the state. So that means it's different. It's probably some kind of some connections to the city areas, rural areas. At first, Japanese early modern times ideal life is to autonomous village. They must live alone in your village. That is the idea, but it's not possible. I have said it's a table. It's so different. More than 3 cook per year, or less than 0.23 and so on. But ideal life is to live within your village, to sustain their living cost and living. So I'll show you the different type of species, females and males, and 214 is also villages so different, so many persons living. But you see here is the mountainous areas, but only one sheep they have. Night soils, they will bring from castle town to their own village, and they use this sheep. And Naru is a coastal village, and more than 20. It's a clear, it's a fishing village. But fishing village is only to fish, it's not to fish. It's also combined with agriculture fields. It's not so optimal, but it's okay. It's small one, but they have also they together working together in agriculture. But interesting is this fishing village is so risk in sea area is accidents of ships and so on. It's more than 76 households there, but it's decreasing here. So in the other areas, so slightly bigger. So it's I have already said the harvest year is here, October or September, is rice. You see clear difference in the field. It's here barley, wheat, broad beans, soybeans, azuki, and so on. It's only this soybeans and azuki is same to the rice is growing. And you know that the rice field is so square almost, and then ridge is there, this one, small dike. And then azuki is soybeans is almost on this ridge area is growing. And then, so this means the really not so one region, but winter time is barley and wheat, and here is harvest. They are working together and then going to the field, to the rice field, and working there. So this type is field will be changed from rice to wheat, or some crop is differentiated. So last part, I think it's too early, but it's I mean here fertilizer. It's M is male and F female. Yeah? You know here mostly male works, female works. The fertilizer they bring by this Kutami. This village is not near to Castle Town. They are by ship going there and coming back to the night soils to fertilizer. And then this is the mount works. It's not so easy to carry out and so on. And then here, but it's for each field, it's together. It's females, males together work. And here cutting grasses and so on. And then seeds. It's in plants, it's rice plants, so different type, but it's normally it's at first growing small one and small plant to plant to the rice field. So preparing phase is mostly mound works, and changing to here the feed fields to rice fields is mound works. It's not so easy to change. It's a wheat, it's dry field, and rice field is wet field, and then all the water canals and change to product rice. So and then so water supply is already important for Japan, and then so weeding. I'm living in Germany, and then I see not so many, not necessarily plants. In Japan, it's so many not necessary plants. So I mean, it's a rice, but it's coming so many other plants. Always weeding by hand to original rice or wheat to have. Yeah? So in this sense, it's mostly females work. In this sense, it's small, and then you know it's a rich. I have said it's rich. It's for soybeans and others. It's female work. It's so different, and soybeans is coming out, and then they can mark its soybeans, and the others to put out. So, yeah, it's a different type. In 1980s, Japan is always critical for European people. They are too much work. and then this year, this is what is that is the holidays. This is what is better here, I think. It's for only 31 days in a year, 360 days, for example. It's only 30 days official holidays. We are not mostly only 0.3% probably Christians, but we have not so in religious holidays. It's only the so in August, middle of August or at the beginning of January is religiously, but it's and only one point here is interesting for me. It's male holidays more than female holidays. It's a fishing village. It's especially shrine has on the island, and this island is could not female could not visit actually. It's only males can go there and then almost one day there to play or have some harvest and so on. Not harvest, it's fish. So my point is, at first I would like to show each village has its own characteristic. Its own the way of life, and also in the males and females differences, life as working differences also there. And then you see here Amalbe Kami is different type here, sea salt beach. I have shown it's a map, you can probably not see that one. It's not, the village is located along the coastline, but they have the field in the coastline. I visited yesterday, it's not park, it's a sea salt area in the border to Greek. And then here in Japan, it's so important also salt production. It's such as character of this village. And Kutani, for example, its purpose, I have said, it's in early modern times we calculate all the products is rice amount, yeah? And then we say cocoa is 1.5, for example, woods. And Kutani is, I will show you again in the map, is Kutani is behind the village, so big mountainous areas. It's especially for commercialized woods, it's so important for them. Others, do you know Avalon? What's that Avalon? Jumbo? Do you know this one? I have forgotten that. Yeah, it's a paper. Yeah, soybean, sisem, flax. Here, Amalbe Kami is Avalon. It's some. I think it's a trade to get oil, I think. Yeah, so every village has not such a product. It's especially important for the trees, special trees necessary. And Japan is green tea is so famous. But every village could not get such a. So in this sense, it's a different kind of productions related to natural conditions and geographical conditions. So I show you this one again. Kutami is here, and then this area is almost mountainous areas. And Amalbe Kami here, but he has isolated fields in the coastline. Have you get that one? Yeah. Yeah. So, do you know what's a table? It's a green and this is hot. Yellow green. Yeah. It's Japanese. Could you imagine which is this? It's two different here. It's a paddy fields. Rice fields is green and other fields is okay. And then you see here Kutami is, I have said it's, but it's not so many rice fields. And then here you see more rice fields than the other fields. In Naru, it's small one, it's the same here, but it's here, it's only small one. And but here, for example, no rice fields. So it's I have much time, yeah? But it's okay. Yeah. Yeah. The castle town model and then so environmental and also cultural diversity. So we say I have noticed in last days in Slovenia so impressed by natural conservation, and what is so originally natural is so difficult to define. Is, for example, this part in the woods to have, it's produce woods, you must change the plants. And then also some parts in the natural fields, the rice fields, it's so beautiful, but it's not natural. It's a culture field, the culture landscape. So it's, I think it's, I'm also as an environmental historian, it's natural conservation is so important. But early modern time, the people could sustain the environment and also not totally natural, but culturally, cultural natural landscape they have established. So, but it's according or based on the condition of nature is so difficult. They are almost same ideas, almost same instruments, almost same so household systems, but they could not gain on the same way to have fields. It's different type of fields. And then now Japan is coming to the last phase. It's probably the disappearing phase of rice fields agriculture, because it's a so depopulation in Japan and rural areas are abandoned, and most people are going to the big city areas. And then so nobody, it's only so old men and women living there, but they have died and coming to the end of such a landscape. And then gradually returning to the Asian natural conditions, but this phase is so difficult for the change of nature. In the face of climate change, we say the age of Anthropocene. So this is last slide. You know the difference. This one is this. It's not planted like grass. It's abundant rice fields. It's only this area is now is one family or one household is now produced rice. So you see, it's at first I've shown you the village is so totally good constructed rice fields, but nowadays we see so many such grasslands. It's natural lands, but it's grasslands. So I don't know exactly what is the next phase, and then so economically they say also the big fields is necessary. But in Japan, it's mostly mountainous areas and narrow valleys, but it's narrow valleys. It's probably Jarko and I and your family together to cultivate the lands and then to get mud, get water, and to plant rice, especially for 3 or 5 persons, is okay. In Japanese case, it's a big river, is also so difficult to control. Nowadays, it's a Tohoku area and other areas, big rivers, is plain areas, is especially rice fields, and now it's most important and then rice, probably not rice imported to Europe. I have seen many rice is coming from China and some others. But it's a most expensive license. Now it's much colder area, and so I'm difficult in honeymoon time, almost uncontrollable. Not controlled. It's a human process. It's not possible to control. But I have seen probably the first slide again. I think it's now it's interesting because relatively near to the city area, the people are mostly living in, for example, in Kyoto. This is near to, I think, 20 or 30 kilometers from the center of Kyoto, this area. But they're coming back to almost on weekend to the parents and together to plant and then to work there. And then this village is relatively exceptional in such a case. And normally I have shown you the last slide is abandoned fields is much more normal nowadays. But some villages have especially good cultivated or good conditions they have. But it's always they have reasons because it's relatively near to the city center, but it's the village landscape is still exists and so on. Or some kind of people who would like to engage in agriculture. Is nowadays from Tokyo area. Some people are coming to my country and then to engage in agriculture is also possible. But it's nowadays economic development, especially rice fields. At that time, it's only one small one, two or three, but nowadays 8. So small. No, what's that? It's a small one. Rice seed. Yeah. One rice seed to 2 or 3 is modern times. But it's now is 8 or 10. That means it's not necessary to have almost so in this sense. So it's not so many things, but I would like to show you at first in Japan. It's if you visit Japan now, it's almost same city. It's a style is not so different, but it's in the last 18th, 19th century. It's really differentiated landscapes they have. I think it's more natural conditions to reserve means it's so in different type or different styles to live is more important, I think, in this sense. But so difficult to sustain such a landscape. So pessimistic to the end. But I hope in some areas I'm near to my house. It's also some areas to protect it, such as rice fields, and then this young generation is also helping to together. We have visited last time near to the border excursion and so on. So thank you very much. It's not so correctly. I have not written my text, and then so only part of my Japanese nowadays situation I'd like to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Satoshi. No, zdaj so seveda vprašanja, na vrsti komentarji ali kakršenkoli drug poseg. No, tukaj je bilo sicer na kratko in v obliki nekih prebliskov pokazano, kako je pravzaprav kako se ekonomizacija okolja na dolgi rok spreminja in kako je temu prilagojena potem tudi socialna organizacija in pa seveda delitev dela znotraj družin. In pa seveda, kako pravzaprav se ta narava iz tega ekonomskega in socialnega dejavnika pravzaprav ostaja, če dalje bolj socialni in kulturni dejavnik kot nek rekreativni prostor kot nekaj, kar se ohranja in izgublja to veljavo v neki dolgoročni perspektivi. Tukaj seveda imamo v primerjavi lahko z Slovenijo, ker veliko tukaj so procesi približno seveda tudi enaki. No, kot ste vi na vrsti, videli s kolegom, so to že na dolgo in široko večkrat debatirali, tako da jaz sam tukaj ne bi imel vprašanje.
Then I'll ask you, still nowadays Japan are making enough rice and other things for Japan, or they are importing, or Japan is importing some things, or how you mentioned about that hard handwork from till the 19th century. Are now those plants, fields, I assume they are much, much bigger, and many of the work is made by machines, agricultural machines. So how many employees have such a big farms nowadays? Can you compare it, how much input must it be comparing with 19th century and nowadays?
Yeah, I think that's not easy to answer. It's not so easy to calculate. But at first, in Japan, is now so all of the foods is only rice is available. But it's for example, soybeans is almost disappeared only in the Hokkaido is a big plant, but it's almost else from Brazil and America and other areas coming to. And also, at that time we don't eat meat, so some fishes, but it's almost vegetarian there. And then after Meiji Restoration, it's a change. We have no pigs in Arigon times, only in Nagasaki, for example. But it's not to consume in Japan, within Japan, but to export to Korean. So it's a dramatic, we have no milks in that one. So, and then the second one is, it's so difficult, it's now it's a tractor and other, and then so only family business is okay, it's no workers, it's only family, and then some big fields in Niigata, and so it's they are helping together to use the same tractor and so on. But I think it's nowadays production areas is only small family business there, and then that means it's a family business is almost same, and then but that means it's without tractor and other electrical or some other machines, they can calculate, I think it's maximal, this 3 cock. That means it's 100 quadrat meters and 300 quadrat meters and so on. It's a maximum for one family household. Yeah. But its rice field is relatively easier because if you control the water, and then it's always rice is within the wet. That means it's no other plants is are growing. And then for Japan is ideal because not so to pick up the peas and plants. That means agriculture fields workers is so different for rice fields, and then so other plants for some fruits. And then I don't know exactly. I'm an economic historian, but it's not economics. Agricultural economics I can answer for that one. But I think it's only some entrepreneur I know, but nowadays not so. in Hokkaido area is especially so big farming, but big farming is not so many workers. Yes.
Če mogoče ne bom jaz še eno vprašanje postavil. You have mentioned that you can calculate the GDP for each village, but and of course this village was also a basic tax unit. How this fact that the village is basic tax unit affect the relations between the villagers? How this tax burden was distributed among each family? How? Yes, this would be my question.
Yeah, I think it's probably, I'll give you some misunderstandings possibility, because I have said GDP, but it's, I know it means it's taxable products. That means it's how big should be taxed. The amount is there. But I have seen some village analyzed. I have analyzed some villages and see the village capacity is always the same indicator to compare the village. I mean, your village has more than 3 kok per person. That you pay some more tax, and then only the rest of taxation must be there. That means it's if your village is only 0.23 per person, but they can sustain because the village tax is less than the other areas. So it's not exactly. I mean, it's GDP is productions calculated in the areas, but to compare, it's much difficult to compare is different type of regions, but within the regions to compare the village is clear, because it's the same kind of taxation system there, and then this village is more easier to become rice harvest or not to be calculated.
Še kdo?
Yeah, from your presentation, which I found very interesting, I understood that there were quite big differences among villages in the ability of production and also economic well-being, let's say. And I'm interested how actually the community life was organized, if there were any assistance among each other in assisting other farmers to sustain, to survive. And when I would say the agricultural welfare state was created in Japan, and how actually was take care of farmers from the society point of view, to make them able to continue farming and and actually the farm profession to be attractive for younger generation.
It's your question probably nowadays also pastimes as well. I think at first I would like to show some point in the past times and then some present times also. And then in the past time, it's a village has a responsibility to pay tax. It's not so individuals. It's not individual household, but a village. That means it's a village people must help each other. And always, for example, in the village fields, it's from the water is coming down. Is nowadays we say it's almost mechanically the water supply is established. But that is, of course, it's the relatively high area is harvested and then gradually to other areas. So, but this is so it's a harvest time is relatively concentrated. Is to work. So in this sense, is a village people must work together. It's not so individual. This is my field. It's not okay. And then you know the flowing water is always flowing. That means it's not only my water. And then village system is this irrigation system is also as a unit of village is totally controlled. Is better for the individual. We cannot get so, but it's different in southern part of Japan. Is so many rains. It's not necessary to control the water. It's coming rains. It's okay. I have some diaries, not this type of diaries. The diaries of administrative head, of village head, and then it's a long time they will pray to get no money, to get rains, and then we have no controls the atmosphere, and also praying day by day, and then coming the big rains. It's okay. It's almost all the fields are filled by water. So that means it's in the southern part is we have so many rains, but optimal rains they could not control the water. It's coming rains, but it's this area and relatively northern part or eastern part we must control the water, and to control the water means not only you and your household members is not possible. It's almost all the village to help together is necessary. So in this sense, it's and then the problem is probably which is individual personality or some kind of individual works. It's only this communal works is in early modern times to pay tax. That means in the southern part of the small village in Yamakusa, it's net 0.23. They are working together to have harvest for rice, but to pay. But the others is totally free. It's interesting. Japan is controlled by the tax, but it's only to pay tax from this registered payment. So in this sense, commercially, that is always the reason after the Meiji Restoration is rush to economic development, because already they have some more commercial training. That means it's two sides. One side is communal works there, but other side more and more individual families or some individual family members working. We are engaged in cotton industry, or we are engaged in salt industry and so on. It's possible. That means it's in the early modern times, it's not only one economic system. It's tax payment and system there, but the other is more free market system as in comparing also European case. But only big difference is we have no proletarians. In comparison is in European case, because it's this village is always some families not so it's okay. It's some number of family households is always exist, and there, for example, is a female's wife is much better life in comparison with city life. They can sustain their own household, and then that means it's almost all the people who engage in some kind of households participation. It's clearly totally different economic systems in Algon times in Europe and Japan. It's no proletariat. But no proletarialization is also the others. It's if you have big capitals, commercialized capital, but this capital development is very, very slow in Japanese case. So in this sense, agriculture is also household, so such a peasant economy is an individual household economy still exists. And then, I mean, it's this so household system or the peasant economy could exist until now, but now it's dramatically changed because of depopulation. And so we are here, the population is always, and then the last chance, it's a really, I'm so pessimistic, so it's so not easy to sustain. The more than 300 or 400 years long existed such a system.
Še kdo? Če ne, se bom zahvalil za udeležbo. Thank you, Satoshi, for the lecture.
Ah, ja.
Hvala lepa.